Good Erev Shabbos, Parshas Shoftim. Shoftim opens with a command. Shoftim, set up a system, a judicial system in your society. Now, this is a wonderful idea, and it makes sense to create a civil society. The next word, by the way, is shotrim, which means police or officers, to make sure that things are being done properly. Now, in the modern context, even if not the biblical context, the police and the judges work as a team. The police catch you if you do something wrong, and the judge and the judicial system tries you and convicts you and punishes you if you indeed are found guilty of that wrongdoing. Not exactly the same thing in the Torah, but nevertheless, at least as it relates to the Shoftim, there is a mitzvah to set up a judicial system, to set up a series of courts and judges. Now, this mitzvah to set up judges, a system of judges and courts, Shoftim titein lecha, this comes in the middle of a bigger chapter. The Torah is split up, or divided, I should say, into chapters which we call psuchos and stumos. Psuchos means that there's a large break between one paragraph and the next. In fact, the next paragraph will pick up on the next line of the Torah. And that really indicates it's the end of a chapter and the beginning of a new chapter. And then you have a parsha stuma. Parsha stuma means that there is a smaller gap between the end of one sentence and the beginning of a new sentence, and that indicates, as it were, the beginning of a new paragraph. So a psucha is the beginning of a new chapter, and the stuma is the beginning of a new paragraph. Now, our parsha of Shoftim, and this mitzvah of Shoftim, is after a stuma, which means it's in the middle of a larger chapter. So what's the larger chapter about? Well, if you turn the page in your Chumash back one page, we're at the end of Parshas Re'eh. And the last topic in Parshas Re'eh is the mitzvah of Chag HaSukkos Ta'aselach. So we have here Sukkah, the mitzvah of Sukkos, and the mitzvah of setting up judges in the judicial system. Lama nismacha parsha. What's the connection between these two topics here? Now, I'd like to share with you a fabulous idea presented by Rabbi Yochanan's wife. And he suggests the following. If you want to understand the meaning of this connection, we have to look at an important and critical halacha of the mitzvah of setting up judges. And that is that we're supposed to set up judges, not only the Supreme Court, the Sanhedrin Hagadol, in Yerushalayim, in the Beis HaMikdash, in the Lishkas HaGazis, not just there, but Shoftim titein lach b'chol sharecha. You have to set up judges in every town, in every village, in every hamlet. However, there is a minimum number, and that minimum number of citizens in the village is 120. So if you have 120 citizens living in an area together, then that requires a court in that village. And that's called a Sanhedrin Katana, a small court, not the Supreme Court. And it's only 23 judges. It's not the 70 judges of the Supreme Court of the Sanhedrin Gedola. So therefore, wherever you are in the land of Israel, even if it's a small village of 120 people, you have to have a mini Sanhedrin, Sanhedrin Katana, 23 judges sitting on a court. Now, it's not just that. The Rambam teaches us that you have to have an understudy for each of the judges, and not just one understudy, 2 understudies. So therefore, if you have a town of 120 people, you need 69 judges living in that town. The 23 judges who are serving, plus another 23 and 23, 46 judges who are going to be understudies if for whatever reason the first court cannot serve, the judges cannot function. So here, think about it. You have a town of 120 people, more than half, the equivalent of more than half of the 69 judges have to be living in that city of 120 people. So it's fascinating. Why so many judges? What do you need so many for? Rabbi Zweig suggests then it comes down to our understanding of what is the function of a judge in Judaism. Is the purpose of a judge to mete out consequences if individuals act wrongly? Well, if that's the case, then all you need is one court, one set of judges, and that's it. Maybe you don't even need them throughout the land. Maybe just the Supreme Court in Yerushalayim. Okay, maybe a few more to ensure that you have easy access so nobody is too far away from a court system. But we go down to the village level. Every village, every hamlet, a minimum of 120 people demands a court, and not just a court, 2 sets of understudies. So what is the function of a judge in Judaism? It is not simply to mete out consequences, to create a fear of punishment such that it will deter you from doing whatever sin or wrong or evil or misdeed. No, it's not just about creating a deterrent. It's about inserting individuals of high character and high caliber that can create a ambiance of nobility and influence the community. And so therefore, even if you have a town of 120 people, you need 69 individuals in the town running around trying to help to create an environment, an ambiance, an atmosphere of divine nobility, people of upright character, and this will transform, if necessary, or impact as much as possible the atmosphere of the town, thereby creating not a deterrent for individuals to think about stealing, robbing, killing, murdering, etc., but rather to create a society in which it naturally flows from the society that we don't want to rob, steal, kill, murder, or whatever. Because this is who we are. Because we are living the best versions of ourselves. That's the role of a shofet. That's the role of a judge in society. If we only have a system of deterrence, then if individuals realize that the deterrence is no longer there, or that they can live with the consequences, well, then there's no longer a deterrence. If people only do the right thing because they're afraid of getting caught, well, when there's no longer a fear of getting caught for one reason or another, society will entirely crumble. The purpose of a shofet is not to create a deterrent. The purpose of a shofet is in order to help create a society where we all want to live the best, most noble, most divine, most spiritual, most authentic, most genuine versions of who we are. And the most genuine version of who we are is extraordinary, because that's the neshama that HaKadosh Baruch Hu put in each and every one of us. And to make this point, that the purpose of the judge is more than just to be a symbol of deterrence, of consequence of punishment that will deter people from ill behavior, is the Torah tells us, Shoftim, and Rashi says, Manei dayanim mumchim, choose expert judges, v'tzadikim, and who are also tzadikim. It's not good enough to have somebody who just knows the law to sit in judgment. You need somebody who's a tzaddik. Why? Because you need somebody who's going to be able to influence and impact and model and role model for the community as large, and thus transform our society. The Ibn Ezra says that if the role of the judge was simply to be a deterrent, then all we would need is the Supreme Court in Yerushalayim, maybe. Says the Ibn Ezra, he's addressing a slightly different point, Shalosh regalim regel lo maspik. It's not good enough just to have a Supreme Court in Yerushalayim, because then people will go 3 times a year to have their grievances dealt with. But rather, tzarich b'chol she'arecha. You need in every single town, village, and hamlet. Why? I would argue again, because the purpose of the judge is not simply to be a sign of deterrence, but actually to have an impact on the community. Furthermore, the pasuk says, "V'shaftu if the pasuk says, "Shoftim titen lach," you shall place judges. It doesn't say that you should have a system vishoftu, that judges shall judge you. It says you shall place amongst yourself judges. No, the goal is to have judges judging. Shoftim yishpetu b'chol she'arecha. So why does the Torah say Shoftim titen lach? Because it's about creating a noble society. You want to establish judges in your town, not simply so that way they can make sure that you don't do something bad or your neighbor doesn't do something bad. You, the community, want to bring judges into your town in order to raise and elevate the nature of the society. And this is why Shoftim is connected to Sukkot. Because Sukkot is all about going into the Sukkah and dwelling in the Shekhinah and the presence in the shade of the Tzel of Hashem. Living in that moment where we are inspired to be the best, most spiritual beings we can. And thus, Chag HaSukkos Ta'aselach, you should make for yourself Chag HaSukkos. And by the way, also set up a court system. Because the purpose of the Shoftim is the same purpose as Sukkos, to bring out the best of who we are. As we march on our journey of Elul, let us keep in mind the mitzvah of the Shoftim and do what we can to realize the best versions of who we are and thus create the best, most noble society we can. Good Shabbos.